Welcome to the Lila Life Show. I am your host, Linda Andrews, Integrative Advisor, and absolutely honored to be here with you today, founder of Lila Life. Today, I want to talk to you, as always, about prosperity and well-being. I've made a little bit of a shift. As you know, if you've been following the show for a long time, there's been different aspects that have evolved over time. And so for a long time, I was saying where business meets well-being, and there's a shift as of late where prosperity meets well-being. And I see business sitting underneath prosperity as one of many tools, including employment, including investments, including real estate, including many, many things that could fit in your prosperity bucket, money related and some not. And then, of course, well being, these daily steps, actions that you take in alignment with what matters to you most, AKA likely having something to do with your values. And today, I want to talk to you about a topic I hold near and dear to my heart: consuming and creating. Are you doing too much creating and not enough consuming? Unlikely. Or too much consuming and not enough creating? Perhaps. And this is a ratio, a balance, a dance. There may be times of ebbing and flowing one into the other. But if you are feeling uninspired, drained, unmotivated, some creative output may be here for you. And so last week we were talking through the cross quarter reflection, that midpoint in between solstice and equinox, also known as 6.5, 7 weeks in between, right at that midpoint. And so if you have your eyes set at the winter solstice and you have these next 6 weeks of the year to get to that moment, where are you in that creative and consumption ratio? And what can you make as an adjustment going into this kind of home stretch of the year? So right now, I have created this own little coding. I've been using a lot of these practices internally and making sure they stick and work before I share them. But we are in month two, week three of fall. Dun dun dun, as we're going into that winter point. And it is a little nerdy, it is a little mathy, but these structures that are already happening within the year, right, that have been used for probably millennia, but many decades, right? Shout out to our farmers. This is a natural flow and rhythm of the world. And so I just find in a time where much is very divisive that, winter solstice, right? Like, where's the division in that? I'm just not seeing it. And so I find some of these principles to be quite unifying and help to crowd out. This is a big teaching principle, adding in and crowding out, adding in the sense, adding in what matters to you most, and crowding out, eliminating, getting rid of that nonsense. And so, anyway, getting back into this theme of creation and consumption, at the heart of this is that looking at what are you absorbing and what are you expressing, right? Are you expressing? How much are you expressing? Are you absorbing? What are you absorbing? Auditing these two, right? My favorite word should have been a CPA, not. This is not investment advice or tax planning advice. But for you, looking at what are you consuming? How often? How much? How long? What are you creating? What of that do you love? What's feeling stale, stagnant? What could use a refresh? And just understanding your own creation and consumption ratio. So this overconsumption, which you hear this often now. We're in the attention economy. I've said it before, right? And I remember when it was like, oh, multitasking, that was so novel decades ago. Oh, are you a multitasker? And then it's like, oh, we found that multitasking doesn't make you much more productive, and it's better that you can do one thing at a time. And I think women usually are really crushing the multitasking in theory, right? There's kids maybe, and then dinner and laundry and work, all these things happening at one time. And you may be naturally doing some of these things, but my intention is just to help you have some reflection and adjustment from the reflection, from the awareness in ways that can be supportive to you. Judgment-free zone. But this overconsumption, and I'm there's different layers to this that I'm can tell already that I'm going to go into some threads of. But first, we're just talking about your own personal habits. And so, in this overconsumption, you may notice that it drains your creative energy. And so, you're checking one thing online and a half hour goes by. I've told this story before. I'm going to tell it now. The first time I was on TikTok, I was making a video and I was on TikTok for an hour. And maybe that could be the learner's curve, but it was one thing led to the next thing, led to the next thing, led to the next thing. And it to be quite frank, scared me. And I'm sure these tools continue to change, evolve. If anything, they're just getting better, I would say. And I reference this industrial grade tech. Think of the best and brightest of the minds of the planet making something that is very, very, very time consuming for you so that it's taking that attention, right? In the attention economy, we're not trading dollars and cents. It's what of your attention can be taken and monetized, right? And back in the day, I don't know what this stat is now, it was like 17 impressions equal to sale. I imagine that number's only gone up. It's like 10,000 impressions equal a sale. And so these messages, consistent messaging over and over and over to get you to make that action to buy, this is part of that consumption formula, if you will. Now, if you're on the other side of this, right, you have a business, you're a marketer, you're thinking like, how am I relating to my audience? How am I making sure they know they can trust me, making sure that they can solve this problem I can solve this problem with them for them. And so you can reverse this, but just in terms of you as a human, you in creator mode, your consumption can be your Achilles heel. And these little moments, right? If you did that once a day where you gonna check something and you're on the phone for, 30 minutes instead, and it wasn't anything that necessary, and all of a sudden you have 4.5 hours a week. And so checking your phone time, checking your consumption time, just dialing into this and understand what of this is helping support you in the life you're creating, what is most important to you, and what is nebulizing you and numbing you out to quote unquote the real world. The other thing about this is all of a sudden there's these other people's voices, ideas, opinions that may not be yours at all, that may have been the 100th or 1,000th or 10,000th time you've heard something just enough to be, hitting that tipping point where it's like, now it is my belief, right? And again, getting back to that industrial grade thinking, right? Industrial grade tech, some of this is very intentional, right? These algorithms, there is science to it, there is expertise to it. And I don't say any of this to scare you. I say this to empower you to be aware. And, there's some argument on this, like, is empowerment and awareness enough, or are these industrial grade tools so strong that it doesn't matter your willpower? I will always I will default back to you having choice, because if not, maybe it is a little too scary, right? And you do have awareness, and these are part of your gifts. And so being aware of that and where you're putting that. And so if you could think of a white piece of paper with nothing on it, and that being illustrative of this blank piece of paper of your just clearest thinking, and then divine inspiration coming in and ideas coming in, and all of a sudden there's flowers and there's a gate and there's a tree and there's a path and there's walking, and you have this painting, that's the imaginary painting I just made up, right? But if that paper, instead of it being blank, had 100 different people's things on it, it would be hard to get to that illustration I just described. And this is where that process of you doubting your own creative direction comes in, and you do start to get tired, reactive, finding yourself less connected and not dialing into your authentic signals, right? And those signals present differently for everyone. It is unlikely that you are going to be in this world where it is completely you, not being impacted by anything, picturing your auric field of protection going out 100 yards in each way, right? We do not get these quote unquote luxury. I'm not so certain that luxury, that would be a luxury because connection is absolutely a part of life. But these little tiny moments of that and creating a much of this space and room for that creative flow is critical. And if you think of yourself as having no influence and no impact, well, it's not going to be zero, right? But is it going to be 100 influenced and impacted by others? That's not great either, right? And so where is that spectrum? Where does your intuition live? And just noticing in your own process of overconsumption or just straight up consumption, is your intuition being doled out? And in that creative process and that room for creation, you are able to be a little more dialed into it. And so, this creative practice that you're absolutely tapped into, expressing in many different ways, just noticing, are you spending more time in absorption or expression? And again, dialing in, flowing through those differences. I was in a coaching call with my own coach a few weeks ago, and there was this pretty profound moment where he said, what percentage of yourself do you feel like is you? And in that exact moment, I felt particularly pulled in many different directions. And I said, 5% me. And my answer scared me. I was like, oh my gosh, where am I? And I think in those moments where you feel that 95 other 5% you, this space is even more critical, and it can even feel like an overcorrection a little bit. Like I'm pushing pause, I'm dialing out, I need some me time, I need some me space. And again, that's going to look different for everyone. And everyone's life roles, responsibilities are different. So take from this what you need. And I think you get this point though. Where is your creation energy flowing out? Is it flowing out? Is it getting stale? Is it getting stagnant? And is that happening from overconsumption? And so how do you tip the scales? One is getting that into creation, right? And there's many different ways. I like to start with what are your what are you passionate about? What do you love? What are you good at? And it's just one little thing. It's like what's the simplest thing that I can do to tap into that expression. And that simple, it can be easy to get things into the complexity, which is then the stagnation because you're paralyzed and you're not taking that action. And so it's just simple, like, what can I do? Is it literally a scrap piece of paper, a pen, a pencil, whatever, and a stick figure? That may be the simplest thing right now, and finding ways to take those actions. So we'll talk a little bit more about that, but just remembering that your attention is capital, right? And especially at times where you might feel like I don't have enough time, I don't have enough energy, you have your attention, right? But you may not have enough because it's distracted. You don't have enough money. Attention is a big part of your capital. And every decision is that micro investment. And that includes the scrolling. And so when you're thinking of what are you scrolling in, a very simple prompt that's helped me a ton is this empowering the life I'm creating or disempowering? And just that cue, that quick question, it just shifts it immediately, right? Because it's like, is it or not? And again, there's scales and spectrums to this. Something that could be empowering in one moment could be disempowering in another. So you got to have this all dialed in. And this question, what return are you getting on your attention, right? This is one of these inputs. You are pouring into something with your attention, and then is the output what you want? And if not, that's where some of these changes can come into place. And so if you're tracking every single aspect of your time, energy, attention, and money I don't know if that's possible, right? Not 100%, that's for sure. But having a loose grip on this, understanding where it's going, and treating your attention like money, treating your energy like money, treating your time like money. And if you treat money poorly, don't treat it like money. Let's do a full team upgrade there, right? But thinking about all of this is just one other aspect of your portfolio, all right? So, what part of your day, what percentage of your day roughly is input versus output? Where are you pouring your attention that it's not giving you anything back, including energy? What kind of content expands you, empowers you, motivates you, inspires you, and what drains you? And making sure, just like your time, just like your energy, that you're paying attention, pun intended, maybe not a pun, to your attention. And remembering that this is going to determine your energy and your energy determining your output. All of this based on your inputs. All right. And so this shift again, looking at these choices as a form of devotion to your life, to the sacredness that we all have, and adapt and devote ourselves to the actions each day. Yourself, myself may look very different. Can there be some kind of discipline in the practice of this, right? What are you doing every day? How does that connect to your creation? And noticing what you do first. And so if you're creating before you consume, is this a way to anchor in a little bit more of your innate energy before the consumption, right? And so paying attention to the order of things. And just as much as you're paying attention to the order, paying attention to your transitions. And so if you're in this clean, clear frequency of energy, say you just wrote and you're about to start podcasting, but you get online for an hour in between and get thrown off haywire because you've just seen a bunch of things that may or may not be relevant to what you've got going on in your life directly, right? And now you're a little thrown out of your flow. And so finding this discipline in yourself that is helping you anchor in this creativity on a regular basis, a regular practice, and looking at all of this as a way to respect yourself, honor yourself. You know, you're an energetic being, you have all this expression, and, how does this shift your life? So a simple practice if you create before you consume. And I'm pretty loose with creating, but it so much feels like creating. One I think of is, cooking. I'm creating a meal. So food prep before you get on your phone scrolling. Your tummy will help you too, likely. Um, Input fasting, what amount of input fasting can you do? One thing that I've been doing is going on walks with no input. And so, maybe it's not 24 hours, maybe it's not a full day, maybe it is. But where can you start with? Maybe you're so maxed out, right? You feel that nervous system like, it's like, all right, take the phone away. And getting it in a place that you're not going to have it. Phone maybe subbed out for computer, for iPad. I think you understand that. And is there a specific time that you need to have this creative space, right? If I'm writing, I'm definitely not in a meeting. If I'm podcasting, I'm definitely not in a meeting. There's no one at the house right now. I'm in the studio, right? So protecting these creative blocks just like there are meetings. And again, the goal is not zero consumption. I do not believe that zero exists. This is a fun mental trick. It's like, well, it's not zero and it's not 100. So where on the spectrum is it? Where is your balance point of conscious consumption, intentional consumption? And letting your voice, your creations be louder than the noise. And my goodness, there is a lot of noise. Part of this that I'm curious for you, and feel free to share in the show comments, notes, like, subscribe, all the things. It helps me give you more value if you are getting value by sharing. But noticing how you're creating regulates your nervous system, how this helps get energy moving again. This could even be like your creative checklist. Are there 5 things that you know? I'm going to do a drawing, I'm going to cook a meal, I'm going to paint something, I'm going to make some pottery, I'm going to build a candle, I'm going to move a room around, I'm going to, what is that? That helps get your energy moving again. If you're stuck, anxious, scattered, could a solution for any of that be creation? And this expression moving your energy from stagnation to flow, right? And why are well-being and prosperity linked? Dun dun dun. When you are creating, right? That's part of your divine expression. It's like your birthright. You are alive. You're creating. And that intersection of you feeling well, doing well, being well, and this prosperity, you having what you need when you need it, perhaps and then some, right? That relationship with the word sufficient. Is this sufficient? And this does go hand in hand with just consumption as a whole, right? The new, the latest, the best. And there can be a point in that whole process that you feel so disconnected in yourself because you are in this whirlwind of click buy, click buy, click buy. The one thing I bought, this was years ago now, was on Instagram, and it was such a funny moment. I am not active on Instagram at this moment, but when I was in this one moment, I bought a dog treat machine on Instagram and it was so bad, and I got it and just felt so defeated, and I was like, you deserve this, like you bought off the algorithm and this is a piece of crap, and now you have it, and now I guess I'll put it in the circular economy, also known as goodwill. Maybe someone found some value in that. But just understanding, what are you, what, what do you have? What are you buying? What are you taking in? Is this coming from you? I'm not knocking you having what you want, what you like, what you desire, but just understanding these ratios, and could the consumption actually be because there's a deep, deep, deep part of you that is aching to create, and in that neglect of yourself and those creations, and the consumption ticks up, ticks up, ticks up. So pay attention to the subtleties in this. Let creation be some medicine and make it easy. One thing I've been doing is I have many plants on our property, and anytime they're making a new start, I propagate it and get it into a little pot, and there's plants all over the house and all over the yard. It's just so easy. And there's little ways. I've mentioned before, a friend of mine, it was like he would paint every morning, right? It's like the canvas is there, the paints are there, boom, 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 paint every morning. I have my journal by my bed, morning pages every morning. It's like, where can you flex and make this simple for yourself so it's not 30 extra steps? Now you don't even have time. Now you're not creating. And what do these little micro bits of creation look like for you? I don't know. It is going to be different for everyone. So if you need some support in this, I have open at lilalife.co the 22-day reset. There's some different practices in here that can help you align your attention, allow your attention to flow with everything else you want to create, and see if this reset, it is consumption. You're paying $22 for this 22-day practice. And in it, though, I guarantee you will be creating something. Could it be a new idea, a new thought, a new practice, a new action, a new habit? I don't know. It's going to look different for everyone, but paying attention to that, if that is resonant to you, and especially if you're navigating a transition, you may find it supportive in tapping in a little bit deeper to yourself. So it may not be more content, it may be more action, more creation, maybe even more connection. And every time that you choose to create instead of consume, you're reclaiming a piece of yourself and giving that gift to the world because of what you are created. So creating from alignment, not from that industrial grade algorithm. It is an absolute honor to be with you, giving you many blessings, and I hope to see you next week on the Lila Life Show. Signing off.